Hello everyone, this is Dragon, and welcome back to another episode of Fire Emblem Heroes. Here we are, of course, not in vaults. Did alright, over 15k lift, but for some reason replays are a bit weird this week, or just our defense matches in general, so let's get started. I think I got skewed over by 3 matches or something, and combined with the fact I was climbing relatively quickly compared to most players who are not in vaults, just because of how many merges we have in light season. So overall this week on offense is fine. Got to do some funny things, but at the end of the day, we're just goofballing and getting some rewards inadvertently because of it. Decides to just hit end turn here, which is kind of interesting. Loki already not in range of any safe skills whatsoever. First off, we have Bramwell with Luna up against Henriette, who's too slow to deal with Sturdy impact here. So, thanks once again to Pack. What is it? Pack Bloom? No, Pack Blooms is the blue tone. What is it called? I always forget what her tone is called. But she gets to survive a round. But again, Loki is not in range of our saves, so no hope to deal with Bramwell here. Unless she would have been able to one-shot, which is pretty unlikely. Bramwell does have a decent res stat. But ours isn't even running low attack res, so there's that. Legendary Crom sees that Henriette at a whopping 3 HP and decides to do 192 damage to make sure that she gets taken out. Jokes aside, the match is pretty much in a bad spot for them, so they just surrender here. And it's called Unity Blooms. I just never remember the name of that weapon. 10 out of 10, but what are we going to do about it at this point? Here we have Fallen Edelgarden Company. Okay, seems solid. I'm guessing. I haven't watched all the replays, even though there weren't too many this week. I imagine they're just going to do something like hit and turn. Because Sophos bonus this week, can't put her in 7th slot to do nothing, because that doesn't contribute to our scoring on defense, which means our defense gets much worse here because Nils is dance spotting on Knots. And now, on top of things, they also isolate Nils, so Sylvia has to go dance. That's not great either. So Bramon, of course, not going to be able to do one-shots. That would be pretty ridiculous. That would mean Fallen Edelgard actually has a red stat cap. But simple bonfire for the takeout. And Legendary Crom's going all the way over to left field. So he's not going to be able to take out Fallen Edelgard. Doesn't really stand too much of a chance against Legendary Crom when Deadeye is up, unless she's running Fallen Shield, which is her best try to consistently beat Legendary Crom. The only other option is Party Fighter, which is relatively rare on Fallen Edelgards, but it's totally feasible to run. It's just not ideal, because she doesn't have any built-in special acceleration without her Armored Wall B skill, so you would have to run like Steady Breath Seal or something if you wanted to get your special acceleration up for running Aegis, for example. But she does have the -1 special cooldown acceleration, so there's that going for her. But again, update problem with Fallen Edelgard is missing one-shots. She is able to one-shot there because Knot was just taking way too much damage. And of course, so this with her 1 cooldown miracle isn't going to do anything, so Yeah, I think for the last match of the season, I had my Ashe just obliterate a +10 Sophos. I don't even remember how much damage that Sophos did. I feel like she did not even 5 damage, but yeah.
Have a pleasant
Not really sure what her remix is going to be because there's a lot of fundamental problems with a lot of mythics. For a unit like Sophos especially, it's just lack of HP. And for Sophos, who runs on Sirius, which she also has problems with actually even proccing Sirius, because she has no built-in special cooldown acceleration or ways to deal with guard. So, combined with her low HP and a special that heals her based off of the damage she does, when you don't have a lot of HP to supplement, the healing is pretty because you already don't have a lot of HP in the first place to heal. So, aside from just getting downright one-shot, the healing, you just can't keep up.
There's my
how
chance.
the healing only scales off, I believe, 30% of the healing damage off the Sirius only scales off 30% of its speed, so it's not great. She ends up kind of just potatoing, really can't get any net gains in healing. But speaking of healing, unfortunately for their Brave Hector, not merged up enough. +10 Brave Hectors consistently wall our legendary Crom just because more HP and more defense. The defense especially is important for matchups against Jedi, so ripperonis. Here we are with the old school shenanigans when Dual Lin first came out-ish. Got ourselves the double Dual Lin and just overall Galeforce team. Seems pretty solid. Should pretty easily win. The only difficulty here is going to be taking out Seliph, which if they stack enough attack and debuff Seliph's defense using the dagger debuffs from Dual Lin, should be a relatively easy one-round KO. Because we're not running Deflect Missile like we used to. If we're running Deflect Missile, they'd have to think a bit more, but even then, it's totally feasible for a Desperation Lin to quad a Deflect Missile Seliph to death, but of course we're not running Deflect Missile on him, so not good for us. But they definitely probably don't want to leave him alive. That's probably too dangerous. He doesn't have 0 attacks, so Dual Lin's just going on a rampage here. And of course we don't run Duo's Hindrance, so they're just free to use Duo skills left and right. It still surprises me to this day how people can have full access to their Duo skills and harmonized skills and whatnot, but still lose to our defense. I don't know. But here they get to proc Mundo and pick up the kill on Seliph. Somewhat barely. Duo Peony buffing, definitely helping out here. They go for the corner on Legendary Crown, which is definitely a viable strat. I leave it as an option. Not very many people take it, just because typically wall breaking Seliph is the hardest part for most people. Everyone else, if not, is pretty straightforward. Maybe slightly difficult if she's bonus, because +10 HP is pretty strong. And once again, Sophos is not really doing anything, so... Dual Lin also not proccing Miracle initially in the first few shots, so Dual Lin in a nutshell, Capo. But at this point, they should be able to easily take out Legendary Crom. And this is, spoilers, a rematch, so I'm guessing they just wanted to break everything, activate out of the deck just for the flex value, but of course in our books that is not flexing because you have to win without activating any of the opponent's traps, which can be surprisingly difficult, but on my layout it's not too big of a deal. But overall, I mean, we might in the future just move this defense to a different map, but it'll still be Infantry Pulse, it's just going to be worse. Because this breakable wall honestly screws us over more than it helps us out. Nowadays, people aren't plopping their units for a quick hit and run on the unit above the panic banner, and then just leaving their units in range for not to break the breakable wall, and then for the ranged nuke to use Pathfinder to go nuke something. That's not happening as much nowadays, even outside of vaults, so that's good to see at least. At least people are not getting memed over by the simplest of things, because especially when they don't break the structures, it's like there's not very much things that the AI could reasonably do. And if you have just a tiny idea of how the AI works with the movement order, it shouldn't be too difficult to spot what's going to happen in such an instance. But here they just kind of leave their units in range, so it's just a shooting gallery. Of course, Legendary Edelgard does not stand a chance against Deadeye on Legendary Crom. And even though we're pretty low on HP, we still have enough to one-round KO Ephraim. I only mention that because we're outside of attack speed push 4 range. Should definitely consider getting something like that. Attack speed ideal is kind of weird on Legendary Crom, especially for Arena, because sometimes you do want to be below 100% HP, but I guess in that instance, then you just max out +7 attacking speed. But initially you can get +9 attacking speed, so that's something. Don't know whether it's worth going for it though. I feel like there's just going to be a better option for us down the line. But yeah, Legendary Crom's still out on the hunt for more attacking speed. His bulk's already kind of meh, so you might as well just double down on going all-out offensive with him. Just take out the enemy units before they take you out, kind of deal. And while here, Sophos is going to do one of Sophos things and survive only because of Miracle. Ruptured Sky going to do not too much here because of Force of Miracle. And a whopping 2 damage. Legendary Crom still lagging behind because of Tactics Room. But the problem here is not really that Ashnard can't win, it's just that he can't win on time. Too many enemies to deal with, and they keep backing up here, going into turn 6 here. Of course, Sophos is not going to do anything here, so easy kill for Ashnard. Same deal for the dancers. It's not like Nils or Sylvie are actually going to do anything too relevant. It's mostly just Legendary Crom, and he's getting tied down by Tactics Room, so kind of awkward for Legendary Crom, but Mundo going to do a tiny bit here. Most of that was just loadout plus damage, feels bad. Nils doing a whopping 7 damage, but again, Ashnard just not being able to check out a lot of damage. Nils attack stats not too high, but it's turn 7 now, 3 units left. Absolutely no chance for Ashnard to win the match at this point, but it's not, if we kept going with this, they most likely would have been able to win just because they just have Ashnard attack into Legendary Crom and that's it. Pretty sure you can pick up the one-shot, but would be kind of surprised if he couldn't. I guess the only possible way that would happen is if he's at full HP, so that Rangreathern will attack defense troll hard enough, but eh. And here we are again with more tanking shenanigans. So we have Lane and company. Alright, Varsity Prefecture. Pretty low merges, but at least they're running distance defense 3 for some extra defense. Let's see what they do here. Are they just gonna hit unturned? Most likely yes. I imagine they don't really have an method of approaching. Not sure what they're waiting for though, because there really isn't anything to wait for. Probably just a setup thing. Or maybe it was for odd recovery, just for timing? I don't know. Not entirely sure. I feel like if you wanted to time odd recovery, you would just go in turn 2, but I'm not gonna worry about that.
I won't lose.
And of course, because of our 7th slot shenanigans here, he's much weaker. Which is why a lot of people go to the left, which is definitely reasonably correct, because it's pretty hard for Legendary Crown or whoever the main primary nuke is to actually reach over there unless someone baits way too far in. Then that's when things can go wrong. But Grandma and I'm able to pick up the kill. Unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? That's where having low attack res would be useful, but unfortunately for us we don't have that, so what are we gonna do?
I am absolute.
Fallen Edelgard, of course, going to obliterate Self. Not like Self has much of a chance when she's mostly defense-based.
Shameful.
If you're not going for effective damage into her defense, you're pretty much gonna have a bad time. Unless you have an absolutely massive attack stat, like 120 or something ridiculous, then yeah, maybe you might have some. You might have a good time there, but here their Brave Hector is below 100%. The Ryan Greaser isn't active, but wouldn't have mattered here. They still would have just taken 1 round KO. Regardless, they would just take more damage.
Perish.
And of course, Sylvia not going to survive on Edelgard. Almost does, but not enough HP for that. And well, of course, Sophos has to do a whopping 1 damage. At least she hasn't been doing 0 damage so far, but yeah, it's basically meaningless.
Face your mortality.
Whopping 1 damage. It would be a shame if it was healed off. And at this point, yeah, the match is over. It's not like we're gonna do anything relevant at this point. Maybe either to pick up the kill of area to farm SP, we'll see real quick.
You rest.
Even though it is, and yep, SP farming. Yeah. And here we are with our last replay for this week so far. Pretty interesting to say at least. Decent P-arm, and we have Ascended P-arm here where they're going all out into attack and speed. Because as we've already seen before, Ascended P-arm is not great at picking up kills. Shout out to missing the one shot on Legendary Azura, even though she has Triangle Adept in her weapon. So here they do just about everything you could possibly do to give Ascended P-arm the best chance of tanking. You have, well, you know, the number one problem is Legendary Crom's in range to attack, but, you know, ignoring that, they had Dual Crom have his Deadeye up so that even Pulse Tie ate up that special rather than Ice Mirror. And of course they have Flame, but again with Deadeye it doesn't matter. And of course they have Grand Strategy and pretty good debuffs, -8 to all stats. But even so,
there's my chance.
She still takes way too much damage. It's absolutely obliterated still. Feels bad. Not enough defense investment, so Deadeye just scales way too well. And the damage reduction is just not enough. So that's also a case of not having enough HP. Ascended P-arm really just HP, especially if there's no Fatal Smoke or something. The extra healing she gets from her weapon
I take my stand
combat
here.
is definitely super helpful when you combine that with her damage reduction. But unfortunately, if you just get one shot, you can't really heal. But base P-arm on the other hand actually doing things. You're gonna just go ahead and heal here and go in. Alright, take out Sylvia, sure. Not really necessary. But okay. Alright, what are we gonna do here? Nope, Legendary Crom. Of course not going to pick up the kill here, but is going to pick up the kill No, that spells bad news bears because they left Peony. There.
Time to sleep.
Yeah, not great. Legendary Crom picking up. Finally, Sophos doing 0, but I mean, it's against Bjorn. What is Sophos supposed to do? Somehow Sophos would manage to do 0 damage even in half range. Was serious. But yeah, Nils is not going to do anything here. Whopping 0 damage. Again, the problem with the base Bjorn here, the water legendary hero Bjorn, is again HP. What's new? Also, she just doesn't have enough stats. Being able to neutralize penalties is fantastic, but just not enough of everything somehow. But at the end of the day, you can't have the ideal unit in Fae because then everyone would be using that unit. But so far, we have lost a whopping 0 lift. Granted, we're non-vault, but still. We don't get that too consistently. Next season here, Saros' bonus, so that's going to give us a headache. Legendary Leaf being bonus is probably also going to give us a headache. We'll see how much of a headache Spring Maria is going to be. Don't know. Of course, people have seen all the contrived shenanigans you can pull off with her because of her weapon effects and whatnot with the damage reduction. But we're not trying at all this week to stay in tier 21. Theoretically, we probably could if we just built up Shigure, slapped on a water blessing, called it a day, but of course, Legendary Dimitri is bonus, and it's going to be water season for this season and the next season. So the scores I heard were pretty stacked. I believe you do need to be able to score 764s again to be able to stay. Don't know how many, because of course we're not trying, so I have no idea. So we'll be back when the results drop in. And it's basically reset at this point, but here we go. I don't know why I went to Resonant Battles first, but sure. Normally do Ether Reads first, but I guess that's what happens when you're in a rush. We'll probably have to try pretty hard to get back up to tier 21 just by the nature of how competitive it was to stay in the first place, so that won't be fun, but back to Vault we go, and we'll see what we can do. Will be pretty tricky. Our defense is going to be a meme like usual, but anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for watching. As always, this is Ether Dragon, and hope to see you all next time. Bye!